Hello, I'm the Proper Cuber, and today I'm going to be making a 4x4 tutorial. I'll be showing the Yao method because it is regarded as the best method, and it's simple. It's relatively the same as learning reduction, but with one or two extra steps. So I'll just be doing an overview of the method before I start. And what you do is make your cross color center. Oh, like so. Then you make your center that is opposite to your cross color, and that is yellow. Then you make your cross edges, and this requires you to pair the cross edges. Then you make your cross center, your other centers. Not finally. You then make your last cross edge, insert it, and then make the rest of your cross edges. I'm just fixing my center because I messed that up. Then you make, after I fix my crosses, then you make your last edges. And solve it like it was a normal 3x3. Well, not a normal 3x3 because there are such thing called parities, which gives you unsolvable states. But I'll be covering how to fix those so that you can actually solve your cube. Like so. Okay, so now onto the tutorial. We'll be starting by making our first center. And our center will be our cross color center. And I'll be showing all of these tutorials in white cross because that is most common cross people use. And I'm just going to scramble this a bit more for the sake of a tutorial. That would have been a really easy case, but we're making a tutorial here, so we want it to be easier. And harder. And what we want to do is make a bar. And what a bar is are two pieces that are right next to each other. And we can make one like so. Then we put that bar on the bottom. And next we make our second bar. And we need to look for the next two centerpieces. We have them here and here. And what we want to do is put them in different layers. So we can do that by rotating this center up here. And next you want them to be on the same side if they were facing you. So for example, left and right. So this is on the right and this is on the right, so that's fine. But if this was on the left, it wouldn't be fine because this is what you would get. So you want to move it so that they'd be on the same side when you rotate them like this, so. And after you do that, you just turn the top layer till the pieces line up. After that, you move this bar and this bar into different slices and move this inwards into it so that they line up into a center. And next we're going to make our yellow center because we want to make the opposite center to our cross color, which is yellow. And we already have a bar made, so what we want to do is move this bar up, but if you look, you can see that this white center is broken up. So to fix that, we do a U2, which moves this bar out of the way, and then move this back down. This fixes this center while putting this bar here. Next, we make our second bar with the same idea as before. Move it into different slice, make sure they're both left and right, then do that. Then what we want to do is make sure that these two bars are on the same slice this time, so that when we move this piece up and rotate it, so that we can fix this center, this is moved out of the way, so that this doesn't happen, where if we had it like this, it would come down again. So we put it over on the same slice, move it up, U2, move it back down. And that makes our centers. Okay, so once you finish both of your centers, we will be moving on to our cross edges. And there are a few cases we'll encounter. I'll be going over those 3 cases and then letting you just finish if you were doing it. So the first case we'll encounter is, one of the cases we'll encounter is when they are both in the same, when your cross edges pieces are both in the same slice. And what we do in this case is move them so they're on the top and bottom, do a U2, and then do an R wide move until they pair up. Then we can just insert it and go on to our next cross edge. And the next case we'll encounter is when you have one cross edge that's in the top layer or on your right or left, and one cross edge is in the middle slice. And what we do in this case is take your cross edge, move it to the top. Take your cross edge that's in the right or left face, move it to the top, and then have your other cross edge here, and look if it's in the left or right. And then we want to move them to we want to move this cross piece to the right if the other one's on the left, and to the left if this would be on the right. That puts in, after we've done that, we want to then do an R wide move till we pair up these. And then you want to insert your cross edge as if you were solving a 3x3, so this would be a cross from the blue. And then the final case I'll be going over is where we have both of them in the same slice. This, well, actually not this isn't the final one, but this is one more case. There's actually 4. Sorry. So the second to last case is where they're in different slices, and in this case just pair them up normally and insert it. But the last case is where they're both not in the middle layer. And what to do in this case is move one into the middle layer, and then just solve it like the other case I showed you before. So move it so that it's not in the same slice. This is in the right, so we want to move this to the left. Pair it up and insert it as if we were solving it. The next step we have is solving our centers. And to solve our centers, we first want to make one bar. And this isn't exactly easy, but it's the same principle as solving our other ones, except we can only turn the U face, and we have to do our wide moves to look for pieces. And looking at that, well, we can also do triple wide moves, R wide moves, regular R moves, and U moves, which are the only moves we can do because we cannot mess up these edges. And so we have these two cross pieces we'll do for an example, and what we want to do is look at this one. This one is in the right slice. We want to move this to the left slice, and then this is in the top, so we want them to both be on the same top or same bottom, so that when we move this cross edge up, it'll be matching. So this is on the top, so we want this on the top and left. So I'll just do this, for example. We do a U2, that puts it here. And then we just do an R wide move till this edge moves up here. And the other case we have is where this would be on the right, and in that case just move this until it pairs. So we have it like this, and then we can just do a U move to put it on the left slice, and then we can just move it down using a triple layer turn. Now let's look for our next edge piece, center pieces. We have it here and here. So these are both in the same slice, so what we want to do is do a triple layer turn to move this into the other slice. And then let's look at this cross piece. It's on the bottom, so we want to make sure this is on the bottom, and it is. So then move one of the cross piece. So then move the cross piece that is on the left to the top. Do a triple layer turn. Move this bar to the right and do a triple layer turn until it matches up, and then you can just put that wherever you want. And then this center is done, and you can put that wherever you want. Next, we're going to move on to our next center, and this is one part that's a bit different. We have to pay attention to our color scheme, because then we can't solve it if we have the wrong color scheme. For example, you can't solve it if you have blue, green, orange. It has to be blue, orange, green. So paying attention to that, our centers should go blue, orange, green, red, and that's going from in this direction. And it helps to have a 3x3 with you when you're just starting out. I recommend doing that so that you can look at your color scheme. But on to the tutorial, we are going to do orange. And we already have a bar, so we can just use the same principle as before, moving this into the left. Now we do a triple layer turn and look for our two cross pieces, and this is a case we don't want, but we have to deal with it anyways, where these two are across from each other. What you want to do is look if this is in the top or bottom, and hold that in your memory. So this is on the bottom. Okay, now look at this piece, and then move this into the bottom, and put it back. Now if this was on the top, we'd want to move it to the top. But one thing you want to keep in mind is that it has to be in the same slice. Now, it sounds a bit complicated, but it's just pretty simple. If it's in the top, do a U prime. If it's in the bottom, do a U. And after that, put it in the left slice. And using the same principle as before, where if we, with making the yellow center, we want to do an RY move until this edge is in the front. Oh, this bar is in the front. Do a U2 and then move this back down. What that does is brings this bar up and then puts this bar, replacing it and moving it back down, fixing these centers. What you could also do is an L move, then F2, and then an L prime, for the same reasons as the yellow center. However, I prefer to do R, U2, R prime, R wide prime. And then finally we have our last two centers. This is one point you want to pay, this is one part you want to pay attention to, where you want your green and then red if it, well, you want to follow the color scheme, because this is where I would usually mess up. So look where this one is, and you want green. So this is fine, but a case we'd want to move a bar is this case. That we don't want this case. Sorry if I'm rambling, I just tend to do that sometimes, but we want our we don't want the bar to be the wrong color. So what we do is find a bar, and we have one right here. on the right slice. It might also be on the left slice, but in that case, just move it to the top and then do the same principle as before inserting this bar. But it's on the right, so we don't have to worry about that. And so it's on the right. What we can do is move it up with an R prime, U2, then move it back with an R. And keep in mind these are wide moves. And doing that, we put this bar here. And then you want to move that down so that it's in the front. And then this is the final step where there are a couple of cases you'll encounter. One case you'll encounter is where you have a bar, and then this is just the same principle as inserting this bar. Move it up till you see this. Move it here. Do a U2, move it back down. Or you can have this case where you have an L. And in this case, move it to different slices. Then move it to the bottom if this is in the bottom, or top if this is in the top. This is in the bottom, so we move it to the bottom. However, if there was this case where it's in the top, we want it in the, we want this center in the top. And then you just move however it's not. So we have this case, and what you do is move it, do a U so that this I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second. Do a U prime so that it's in the, or U depending on where it is, so that it's in the same slice as this bar. Move it back down. And then the final case we'll encounter is another case like this. And this is same, it's just do the same thing I showed you before. And then insert it. And then I'm just going to get to the next step after a cut. Okay, so our next step is making our last and final cross edge. To do that, we first want to line up our current cross edges. And then look where this cross edge and see which slice it's in. If there is one in the middle layer, which I'll be covering first. And there is, so what we want to do is move the other cross edge on top of the center that it's going to go on, and pay attention to where this cross piece is. It's in the top. So it's in the top, and we want it in different slices, so we are going to move it to the bottom, which is here, and not here because this moves it to the top. Well, not the top, to the to the top slice. There's also the case where you have it on the bottom, but it's just the same principle as I've shown you but right now. And then what you want to do is just turn the U wide layer till the edges match up. Then take this edge out by moving it up, inserting any other edge, so you just do a U move, and then bringing this back down. And then you just want to fix the centers. And there are other cases I'm going to show you right now, like this case. In this case, we have a special case. So we need to use an algorithm for this case, and it's a pretty simple algorithm. It's taking this edge out, then doing hedge. And I won't put it on screen, but it will be in the description. Look for cross-flipping algorithm. And I'm just going to quickly explain it right now. Well, not quickly, but give you an explanation. It's taking this edge out with R, U prime, R prime. Pretty simple. Just imagine you're moving this here. And then hedge, which is reverse sledgehammer, which is F. Imagine you're moving it back, R prime, then you see this, move it back, F prime, then R. And then just do the same thing as before, and after you finish that, just insert it into the bottom. You might have that, or you might have it like this and insert it like this. The final case I want to show you is just where you have it like this, where it's already set up. They're in different slices and they're both in the middle layer. then just do it as I shown before. And in case you don't know how to insert it when these two don't match, what you do is put it on your left or right, and then I put it on my right, and then just do R prime F R. And then next we want to solve our remaining edges. And to do that, what we want to do is look for any solved edges. We have one right here. And what we want to do is take it out like I showed you before. And keep in mind you can mirror everything that I showed you before into the left. So take it out using your L moves. And then look for your other edge piece. Look for another edge. We have this one right here. And what we do is move them like I showed you before. Take it out. But this is where you want to keep in mind you don't want to put any solved edges in here. So we can put in this edge or this edge, but we cannot put in this edge. And then fix it. And one last thing I want to show you is, well, there's actually two last things for solving your edges, your four first edges, but this case, it's just the same case I showed you before. Flip this edge, do that. And then the last thing I want to show you is when you have another edge and you have your last one. What you want to do here is make sure that you're putting this is at your last unsolved edge. You isn't where you're gonna move this up. So this edge has to be here, here, or here, and mirrored onto the right, it has to be here, here, or here. So it's here, which is fine. We move this edge up, this edge where it used to be, and then put it back. But the reason we can't do it like this is because if we did, then it'd move it out of the way, so we can't insert any unsolved edge here. And then we just finish. And this is one other thing I want to show you, but this wasn't what I was talking about before. This is where you have your remaining edges. And what you want to do is look for two edges that are in the same layer. Now we have two cases, this one right here and this one right here. I'll go over this one first. So what you want to do is do a U move so that you take this edge that's over one of them over to the other edge. Now if this was here, you do a Y2, but it's here, so you just do a U prime. Then flip it and fix it. And now we have this case. Well, and then we have our last two edges. There is this case, which is just do the same as I show you for this edge. Move it over, then flip it and fix it, and that automatically solves both edges. But there's also this case where they're not in this. These two and these two are not in the same slice. What you want to do in this case is flip it and then solve it. And another thing to keep in mind is this case before we are onto our last two edges, which is they're not in the same slice. To deal with this case where they're not in the same slice, just flip it first and then solve it normally, and then go on to your last two edges. And after that, you just do 3x3 stage. Now this isn't like a normal 3x3 because there are parities. So I'm just gonna cut to where I show you the parities. The first parity you'll encounter is OLL parity. Now, if you use OLL, then you'll recognize this by, well, actually, no, you don't have to use OLL to recognize this. You just need to see if only one cross edge is solved, or if three cross edges are solved. In those two cases where either one is solved or three are solved, then there's parity. And what you want to do is put the one unsolved edge in front, and then do the parity algorithm, which should be on screen. RU2, rotate down, RU2, RU2, R prime, U2, L prime, U2, R prime, U2, R, U2, R prime, U2, R prime. And then that just gives you a normal OLL case. And then, oh, that was lucky. We have a PLO skip if we didn't have this parity. And then you have parity. PLO parity, which I'm just gonna do a quick cut right here. Okay, so now there should be the PLL parity on screen, and this is just it should be, what you want to do is take this slice and do an M2, U2, M2, UY2, N2, UY2. I'll just show you that again. M2, U2, M2, UY2, M2, UY2. And to recognize this is that you just don't see a normal PLL case if you use CFOP, or when you solve your corners, you don't see, or if you use what's it called, beginner's method, and you just see something like this. This is a case that you wouldn't recognize because this isn't any case. Like, I can do a U prime, which you would do for beginner's method, and that doesn't give you a U perm. So then just do parity, the parity algorithm. That should give you a normal case. And that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching. The algorithm should be in the description, and I hope you have a good day. Please leave a like and subscribe, and bye for now. One last thing to note is how to read the algorithm. 2R2 means you do this slice, and a small r means you do this. And then X also means you rotate, but I'm pretty sure you know that. So that's actually all for today. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day. Please leave a like and subscribe, and bye for now.